Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat from the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go out, motherfucker, by peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I'm curious what you guys think is the big sports story of the weekend, because I think I would put the Phoenix Suns pretty high on the list, given the amount of mortgaged future that they did there, pun intended, given their ownership situation and how they've made money off of mortgages. But I wanted to start with something that I don't know if the rest of you know. I thought it was quietly reported about an NBA superstar last week that Joel Embiid is suffering from Bell's palsy. That was reported by Woj. Did you guys know that was reported by Woj? Did you know that Joel Embiid is
once he reported it, yeah, of course.
I know, well, but I'm not sure how you all reacted and whether you got the news, because I think a lot of people missed that the left side of his face is drooping, that he can't blink one of his eyes, that he's doing the interview that Joakim Noah said on South Beach Sessions. You've got to keep your head up there to give off good body language for your teammates. You can't put your head down. But he's kind of ashamed of what's going on with his face. And I just started reading about Bell's palsy, Stugotz, because I'm wondering what's going on, not with Joel Embiid's performance, but how he's feeling about life these days, being in the center of what seems like a storm, because these are symptoms that mimic a stroke. And one of the things that I read is that I'm going to read straight here. Do you feel ill with Bell's palsy from the internet? When first diagnosed with Bell's palsy, you should understand that you are unwell. It is important to get plenty of rest. And then there's this. People who live a continuous, stress-filled life are more likely to experience this health condition than those who do not.
He'll get plenty of rest soon.
We talked about it some on Friday, and it was through that prism of the reaction to his bad body language after Game 2. It was explained later to us that that's why he didn't want to show his face, because it hadn't been reported yet. So that explained a lot. And we actually, on Friday, we referenced the Joakim Noah reaction to it, too. I think a lot of people got an explanation for some body language questions that they had for him, and hands up in the air. We didn't know that. So you apologize and you move on.
It's like a what more can this guy have kind of thing. Like when I saw that report, I was like, my Grammy had Bell's palsy. Yeah. I've never seen an NBA player with Bell's palsy before.
There's no one else on that team and in that city that's going to get the blame for everything that's happening there, even as he puts up a 50-point performance in Game 3. That arena last night had an awful lot of Knicks fans in it. Can video get some of the Knicks reaction now that they're actually winning playoff games and look like they're going to win a playoff series and have a legitimate chance
Not
here?
there yet, Dana.
If they can get past the Pacers, they've got a legitimate chance to play in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's just put some B-roll up on the screen of Knicks fans behaving in a way that is very Knicks fan, because they really did fill up Philadelphia's arena in a way that made Embiid complain after the game, like that pissed him off.
Yeah, you asked aloud, what is the big story from the sports weekend? And to me, it's the New York Knicks and the fans legitimately having something to pound their chests over, because I know the Hawks the previous time that they made it into the second round of the NBA playoffs, it wasn't a team with a caliber superstar like Joel Embiid, a team that was entering the playoffs with a fair amount of momentum because when Embiid played, it usually meant good things for Philadelphia. So for me, it's, for the first time in a long time, a legitimate team to get legitimately excited about if you're a Knicks fan. That's the main story of the weekend.
I don't know how many Knicks fans had Jalen Brunson breaking the postseason points record when he was traded last year.
Nobody.
He is so talented.
For the Knicks.
For the Knicks, yes. And 47 points at Philadelphia in front of a mixed crowd was one of the best performances I think a Knicks fan has seen in years.
And it should be noted that they're doing all of this. Now, I have my opinions about Julius Randle, the basketball player. I happen to think that, and I've always thought that they're better without Julius Randle. But that being said, Julius Randle represents a large amount of their salary cap that is not making a contribution down this run. You start thinking about this team, the way that it's constructed presently, if they can ever get anything for that contract, you have a team that is in discussion as a real title contender and actually an attractive destination rather than this idea of attraction.
The amazing thing, Tom Thibodeau, we give him a hard time. We make fun of him, how hard he works his team, the defense stuff. But Tom Thibodeau, that perimeter defense of the New York Knicks was overwhelming in yesterday's game. They did not allow Philadelphia to get a clean look at a three from like the third quarter on.
What happened in that fourth quarter to Philadelphia when Joel Embiid says we've got the better team, when Joel Embiid during the last part of the season, his return was something that made Philadelphia feel top of the conference good. The fact that they missed their last 9 shots, they did nothing the end of that game. Mitchell Robinson is out. Hartenstein gets 5 fouls in 1 quarter. He's in foul trouble. Joel Embiid has to carry your team there. And here's Kelly Oubre after the game saying the only thing you can say to try to diminish Jalen Brunson.
Brunson's getting going after the slow first 2 games of this series. What do you think has allowed him to get in the rhythm?
34 shots. I mean, yeah, he's a great player. Great player. I love playing against him. I love his game. You know, he has a lot of fundamentals and skill set to his game. But, you know, anybody shoots 34 shots that has skill, and that's a great player, you know, they're going to be able to do well. And especially you get screened, you know, you're getting mismatches, and you're trying to find the right matchups and things like that. Like, he's a great player. He's going to capitalize on those things. But, yeah, I mean, it was due to happen. Obviously, you know, JB is a great player. He's been playing well, doing this all year long. So just because I say he shot 34 shots doesn't mean he's going to stop shooting them, because that's what they need him to do. So, but at the end of the day, he's just finding his groove. Tibbs is doing a good job of putting him in positions to, you know, get to his left hand and, you know, get into the paint.
I have no idea if he's complimenting Brunson or not. I mean,
the rare both.
Yeah, I mean, the team overall is not going to be super efficient. You might as well have your chief superstar be the one taking the shots in hopes that he finds a rhythm. But I watch the Knicks, and I know that the Pacers are playing an opponent that's riddled with injuries. But you also look at the Mavs with Kyrie. You see like these tier 2 and tier 3 acquisitions that Dan typically makes fun of around the deadline. Some of these aren't traditional deadline deals, but OG has made a difference. Them deciding to just capitulate on RJ Barrett and stop trying to convince themselves that he's going to be a certain caliber of player, making the move to be better right now has paid off dividends for them. It's paid off with Indiana, with Pascal Siakam.
With Siakam, yeah.
Yeah, so the really good minor moves to take your teams to the next level.
I'm excited for Taylor to have the opportunity to take the train to a closeout game. He is currently on an Amtrak from Miami to New York as we speak, and we will be checking in with him later.
We will be? I was told he was on a bus. He's on a train.
Yeah, train.
Yeah, it's all ground transportation, and it's all brought to you by our friends over at Game Time, who Taylor tried to leverage his position here at Meadowlark to get free tickets from Game Time, and the counter was, okay, but here's the conditions. And the conditions are he has to find his way over there using only ground transportation. So thank you to Game Time. By the way, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code TRIPFROMHELL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That is promo code TRIPFROMHELL.
Are we a Knicks show now?
I think so.
Are we headed that way?
Got to game the algos.
Well, we're definitely not a Marlins show.
Second round, are we going to be a Knicks show? It seems like a fun team. And we have multiple Knicks correspondents.
Yeah.
We have Taylor on a train going to cover
I will
the
be
game.
a Pacers show in the next round.
This is the most
Whoever
likable.
the Knicks face, Billy.
Is this the most likable Knicks team of my lifetime? Probably. I'm
It's
just
pretty
wondering
good.
why.
You mentioned Anunoby. He is. I think they were like 17-2 or something when he was healthy after the trade. They had a very nice run when he was healthy. Health, Stugotz, is such an interesting thing happening in the playoffs because the Bucks are without their two leading scorers. When a team in the NBA is without their two leading scorers, they're 0-13 in the postseason. Giannis hasn't won a playoff game since 2022. He's had 8 games. He's not played in 5 of them and lost the other 3 to the Heat.
Wow.
Giannis he's not won a playoff game since winning the championship. Correct? That was in 2022, was it not?
Yeah, and if you look at that championship, I got a lot of flack like as it happens. Like I'm not sure about the season. It's so impacted by COVID. And you look at what's happened to the Milwaukee Bucks and Phoenix Suns specifically. I mean, that was an NBA Finals that was coached by Monty Williams, who is presently a punchline, and Mike Budenholzer, who lost his job promptly, quickly thereafter. It's a weird time in the NBA where you don't necessarily have these kind of flash-in-the-pan generational type teams that usually have a longer sustained run. That Phoenix roster had Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton, guys that aren't looked at the same way.
It feels like Denver could be one of those teams, though, right?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
It feels like Denver could go on a run here.
Yeah.
Generational, yes.
Yeah, atop that conference for as long as
Denver,
Jokic
Minnesota is going to be a
Jokic.
great series.
Yes.
I cannot wait to watch that. Anthony Edwards is 22. Kevin Durant is already saying that's my favorite player to watch in the league. He's 22. And I want to talk about some Suns stuff because they have 0 first-round picks from 2025 to 2030. They've got 0 second-round picks from 2024 to 2030. So they traded everything to have Booker, Beal, and Durant. Minnesota took their best punch yesterday. That's Booker going for 49. That's Durant scoring whatever he scored, 33, and Beal getting 9. They owe Beal $160 million over 3 seasons. They're paying those 3 guys more than 14 teams are paying their entire roster.
And you're stuck. You would say, okay, maybe we could trade Bradley Beal, but who wants that contract?
Well,
for that production.
He's got a no-trade clause as well, making matters worse. Pat Riley wouldn't take that no-trade clause. Phoenix is, and this part's interesting too. So Durant steps on the three-point line and doesn't advance in a Game 7, and Giannis wins the title.
Right.
Durant is 6-9 in the playoffs with the Suns. It's all built around those 3 guys. They were minus 51 in that series. It's the worst of any trio in the league. They're 3 guys. And Beal, in the middle of all that, is a problem, Stugotz, because he was 4 for 13 yesterday. And you need something. As Minnesota is taking your haymakers from Booker and Durant, you need to get something at home from somewhere else. And he's 4 for 13 after saying, I've never been swept a day in my life. I'll be damned if that happens. I don't remember any Bradley Beal playoff games. 0. Like, I don't remember any of them.
Well, he's never been swept. That's why.
That doesn't, yeah, he hasn't been swept. He has not ever been swept a day in his
he's
life.
Never been there. Right.
But he's been there, but I don't remember a Bradley Beal playoff game. Do you? Like, does anyone here remember a Bradley Beal playoff game?
I think when Paul Pierce called bank, he called game instead. Maybe that one. Yeah, they went all in on Bradley Beal. The entire season kind of depended on him finally getting healthy at the right time and helping their team, and that would be the prism that you'd view that trade through. And now that this season has happened, you can promptly call that a failure in a bad acquisition and one that has really hindered their franchise. They're probably going to have to trade guys like Durant even potentially this offseason to see if they can start building up some assets. James Jones probably losing his job there. If you listen to Pablo Torre finds out, does this mean Isaiah Thomas just gets more and more control over that franchise?
I feel like we're burying the lead on the story of the weekend. Draft grades. Miami Dolphins, B-.
Oh, wow.
Vikings, B+. Patriots, B. You want me to keep going?
Please.
Yeah.
I do not
Never
want you
stop.
to.
Saints,
keep going.
A-.
What is the Falcons draft grade? Because that was one of my 2 biggest stories from the weekend. If you can count Thursday as the weekend.
Chris is bearing the lead on this website. He has the grade for each day of the draft for each team.
Packers overall B, but day 1 they had a B. Day 2 they also had a B. Day 3 B-.
Wow. Classic day 3 fall off. Bradley Beal has a 38-point Game 7 in 2017, but they lost by 10.
Well, thank you.
He got his, though.
That is a playoff game. And speaking of the draft, because you said B-, and I thought all of you were dancing around because the Dolphins were said to have the second highest draft value. It was being reported, and I don't know what that means, but Warren Sharp, who famously came on our show as a prognosticator and tout, his information is really good. But he had one of the great disasters in the history of our show where he came on and we said again and again how good his information is. And we say all the time, having good information doesn't necessarily mean you can predict the results of things. And I thought he went promptly 0-11 with what he picked. Stugotz corrected me and said, no, Dan. He went 1 for 10, but the promo code that he offered us after charging $99 for a subscription to Warren Sharp information was then offering our listeners, hey, I'm so sorry about going 1 for 10, or I thought 0 for 11, that you can now have a subscription to everything I'm doing for a single $1.
Should have been for free.
We should have paid for that in just the rest of his dignity.
Warren Sharp is like reputed to be a line mover too. Yeah. Really one of the better prognosticators out there. But
the show brings everyone's analysis down, except for ours, because on Thursday we had, I think, the best Dolphins analysis of anyone watching the draft, which was that Chris really didn't want Graham Barton because Chris's analysis was that if the Dolphins took Graham Barton, the center from Duke, bust. But if anyone else takes him, he's going to be
Hall
great.
of Famer. 12-time Pro Bowler, for sure.
And the Dolphins took Chop Robinson instead.
A little glimpse into how nobody knows anything with these drafts. I'm pretty sure Mel Kiper only gave out 2 A's, and one of them was the Cardinals. And if you look at this graph here, Cardinals are dead last in Warren Sharp's graphic. So I don't know what to make of anything.
Did your dad beat Mel Kiper with more exactos and Zagakis than Mel Kiper?
9-8.
Wow.
Well, everyone kind of had a good year with those first 4 picks. Yeah. But, yes, he did beat him.
How is your dad? I saw something that concerned me over the weekend.
Well, hold on. This part's interesting because, Billy, have you gotten some information on Chris, your father will use anything for clicks. And have you gotten information, Billy, on that post of his where his face is really banged up?
Well, I was concerned when I saw it. I reached out to Chris last night. I followed up this morning, and the information that I got was, hey, how's your dad doing? And the answer was fine. I go, what happened? And the response that I got was, you have to tune into the Greg Cody show with Greg Cody if you want to know how he's doing. And I'm like, but how he's doing? How's he doing? And he said, well, you got to tune into the Greg Cody show with Greg Cody to find out how he's doing.
My dad's never said anything to me more serious than, if you say what happened to me on the show today, I'm off the will. I know he says that part a lot.
Wow.
But he said it again.
His health is embargoed?
Oh, man.
I was just curious. Our cast member and friend, Greg Cody, that's a shocking image that we've thrown up.
I mean,
there.
AI is a crazy thing. It could be AI.
Where can I find this episode of the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody?
Wherever you find your podcast, Jess.
Wow. Is it out now?
It's out right now.
His
Our YouTube numbers just plummeted as everyone downloads the Greg Cody show.
It's a real black eye. It looks like he has a pair of giant Rolling Stone lips around his right eye, because that is some kind of swollen, and that mark on his head makes me think he fell on his face.
All right, I'll give you 3 options. Okay.
Don't do this. You're going to be out of
the
No,
I
Why
can do
are you
this.
doing this?
Don't piss off Greg.
Why?
It's one of these 3 things.
He seems to have been through enough.
He either passed out again like he did with the Bush, drunk.
Choosing that.
He either fainted again, like he did at Highlight.
What, coughing fit?
Coughing fit. Or he got into a fight with Dave Hyde. One of those 3 things
I was
happened.
thinking like bee sting, or maybe he had peanut butter. He didn't know he had an allergy. One of those.
You're
telling me those are off the table.
None of us have ever had our face look like that, right? That is a substantive. Have any of you ever had? Izzy did. Izzy fell on his face one time in a way that really caused him a problem.
I've never crossed Dave Hyde.
That's true.
Who won?
I've had a black eye like that, but the swollen part is, yeah. Why what?
It's really bad.
How'd you get a black eye like that?
Something hit me in the face.
Oh.
Billy, do you have a favorite story from the weekend? Jess cheated a little bit because going Penix and the Falcons on Thursday isn't the weekend. So, Billy, do you have a story that you thought was the biggest from the weekend?
Well, Dan, we're down here in Florida, and there's lots of sports happening. Yesterday was a very bad day for South Florida sports. No one was close. Or Saturday, I'm sorry, was a bad day. The hockey team was not close. The Panthers lost by 20.
Hey, Inter Miami had a great game.
Marlins.
The Heat lost by 20.
Not enough people.
You're right.
Are talking about Inter Miami. Yeah. And I'm wondering when we're going to give them their flowers, because you have the best player in the history of the sport down here playing every 3 days or whenever he feels like it. And no one's watching him. No one's talking about it. We had a whole year about people falling in love with this sport, this team, whatever. I guess they raised prices, and then everyone was like, okay, I'm out. And no one's talking about this team anymore. But that's not the story, Dan. The story is the Heat. The center of the basketball universe is down here today. I don't think anyone will dispute that. And the Heat have the opportunity to tie up this series when no one thought that they were going to be in it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was walking around this morning, minding my P's and Q's, but kind of poking around, seeing what I could find out, because we're right across the street from this arena. I'm feeling good about the Heat today.
Why is that?
I saw Cole Swider. He looks loose. Now, he hasn't played in a little bit, but should he play, I'm telling you.
He looked loose. That's your reporting. Chris Haynes is coming in here into the studio in a second as an information insider. You're challenging his role with that exclusive reporting that Cole Swider walked across the street and looked loose?
I didn't say he walked across the street. I'm just saying I saw Cole Swider this morning. He looked loose, and there's a reason that I'm getting this out now, because I don't want Chris to steal this story, because this could be a monster story. This could be the Swider game, based on how he was looking.
The Heat's 15th guy is ready.
Jessica's yawning uncontrollably. She's had a fit of yawns at
I
your
stayed
exclusive
up so
information.
late yesterday, Dan, watching Baby Reindeer, because I knew you were going to spoil it for me if I didn't watch it this weekend.
It's good.
And also, I think my
Creepy.
Knicks fandom should be revoked, because I fell asleep through the entire second half of the game, and it was like a 1 o'clock tip-off. It was embarrassing.
What's your review of Baby Reindeer?
It was good, but I'm more fascinated by what's happened since it came out, because people are trying to do like some detective work, and the whole thing's gotten very ethically messy.
Oh, is it because the star of the show claims that this is his story, a true story, and there's stuff in it that's not true? Or
no, it's because he claims it's based on a true story, and everyone's like, well, we have to find the real people that it's based off of now. And that part of it has gotten a little weird.
How so? Just in that people are questioning. I mean, it's a dramatic reenactment, right? Are they not allowed to take some liberties with whatever the story is?
I think that that is not so much what the debate is around. I think like it's obviously not a documentary, right? So like things are dramatized. It's more so that like this guy made a story about someone who's a private person and was like, I don't want anyone to find out who this is about, who the actual identity of this person is, but fans of the show are like, we want to find out their identity. And that part of it is weird and interesting, because why?
Invasive, yes. Nosiness, general nosiness. If you're Stugotz, if you're champion veteran Bobby Portis and your two leading scorers are out, you simply cannot get ejected, can you?
Well, I mean, you can.
But you can't. But you can't. Your veteran champion
Left him out there alone. I mean,
Bobby Portis and your two leading scorers are out. Giannis and Lillard are out. The remains of your team was a champion a couple of years ago. You re-signed there because you're a champion there. You cannot get ejected in that spot.
not 7 minutes in.
Not any minutes.
I'll give you
in.
that.
Not any
Fourth
minutes
quarter,
in.
maybe. 7 minutes in, you can't do that.
Actually, you know what? I think the Minnesota's coach, is it Finch? Minnesota's coach getting injured the last 2 minutes of that game. One of the great moments in Minnesota Timberwolves history, that he's about to celebrate with his players and then torn meniscus on the sidelines with 2 minutes left. And he can't even do the press conference. He can't close the game out. He can't do anything other than limp to the hospital.
Tell me what confidence you can instill in your fan base that may not believe that you guys had a legitimate shot.
I think we believe. It's everybody else that don't. If I got to hear one more praise about Boston on national TV when we win a game, I'm tired of hearing that, man. It's 1-1. We're going to go up 2-1. See y'all later, Pete.
Appreciate you, brother.
He's Chris Haynes, senior NBA insider for TNT and Bleacher Report. He's in town covering Celtics Heat. He's about to head to shoot around across the street. Were you disoriented? Did you have trouble doing your job with Jimmy Butler because of the pigtails? Were you distracted or disoriented by that?
No, I got a glimpse of it before we actually went on air, so I was prepared. But I got a little insight for you, a little behind, peel back the curtains for you guys. That led to that interview, which led to him saying what he said about the Celtics paying too much attention to them. So before we went live, he got on us, me, at TNT for in Game 2 we promoted Jason Tatum's shoe during Game 2. He's like, man, y'all better stop doing that. Stop promoting a player's shoe during the game, especially while the Heat are winning. And so then 30 seconds later, we go live, which led to that. So that's just giving you some insight on where Jimmy was coming from.
Not pigtails, Jessica?
Space buns, Dan.
Space buns.
Yeah, big difference.
Okay, I'm sorry. Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Do you know the difference between space buns and pigtails?
Pigtails he's saving for next media day.
Yeah, he's not coming back in this series. I think the most surprising result that we've gotten this entire postseason was Miami beating them that way
For sure.
in Game 2. Yeah. You do what with the idea that the Boston Celtics, if they're going to beat you, that's how they're going to beat you. But plenty of people are questioning whether they can do that or will do that in a 2-point playoff game. Yeah. Everyone thinks and knows they can do that. They've been doing that all season, winning by 20, by 30, by 50.
Are people saying do it in a close game?
People are saying their mental toughness is fragile. Yes, that is something Charles Barkley and others have said.
Said that about the Miami Heat?
No, about the Boston Celtics.
Celtics, yes. Yeah. I do think this is a different team, though. This is not the same Boston Celtics team we saw the last couple of years where turnovers, bad shot selection has gotten the best of them. They're a deep squad. And, you know, the way that they've dominated teams throughout the course of this season, especially with wins, they have a double-digit win margin in beating teams. Like, that's how they play. They want to get up, get fast, and, you know, to the Miami Heat, do they have a legitimate shot? Like, so Game 2, 23 threes, that's actually going to, that's going to help you. But you know they're not going to shoot like that on a night-to-night basis, not against this team, for sure. And you saw in Game 3, they struggled to generate offense.
84 points is the lowest point total of the season for the team.
I was talking with Spo, and I asked Spo before Game 3 about, how do you generate offense, especially when you got Drew Holiday, who's a lockdown defender, and Tyler Hero's probably their best. Yeah, he is their best perimeter offensive player. And he said you don't want to have Drew just lined up on Tyler. We want to move Drew around. Because if you just have Drew just locked in on Tyler, then Drew has the body and the physicality to knock Tyler off his spots. And, we don't like that matchup. And now if you got him moving, that's why the Heat do a lot of dribble handoffs. You get him moving in space and create mismatches. That's how Tyler and other guys can get off. But a heavy dose of that, I just don't know if that's going to work in this series.
You're very close to Damian Lillard. You were in his wedding?
Yeah, I was, yes, in his wedding, yeah.
And a lot of people are reporting that he's unhappy, which would make sense. What is your reporting?
I think he was unhappy with how things were going. I mean, he's not unhappy being in Milwaukee, that's for sure. He wants to figure this thing out. And now, unfortunately, he's out with this Achilles injury. Giannis Antetokounmpo's out with the calf injury. Right now, I think their focus is trying to maximize this offseason, build some continuity together. Because remember when that trade happened, they didn't have a full training camp. They didn't have time to gel. So I think that's the focus right now. So it's a tough season, but not the way they wanted to start it off. But, it is what it is at this point.
What can you tell me about his personality and the difficulties that he may have had creating the messy public conflict that he would have had to create in order to get to Miami the way that he wanted to?
Yeah. I actually thought he was going to end up here. I actually thought at some point when all the dust settled, all the messiness got out the way, I thought he would get here. Didn't happen, obviously. But I've talked to him about this. He wouldn't change anything. He doesn't feel the messiness came from his side.
Well, no, it had to in order for it to happen the way that he wanted it to happen. It would have had to come from his side.
Well, you consider messiness
not from him directly.
Yeah, you're talking about the messiness, the public trade request.
I'm talking about in order to get what he actually wanted. He's the first superstar that this changed on, where you make this kind of noise and you don't get exactly what you want. And I thought it's because he needed to go messier with what his
I agree.
do more damage to his reputation that he wanted to do.
I agree. He would have had to go on public. Yeah, I agree with you on that in that regard. That's not in him. That's not in his DNA right there. Because he always, he wanted to make things work in Portland. That was his first option. But they weren't putting the pieces around him to give him a legitimate shot to contend for a championship. So the trade request was made behind the scenes. Obviously, that gets out. But yeah, he was not going to go public. Now had things going on longer, possibly, but it wasn't at the state where he felt prepared and ready to go public with that.
What can you tell me about the wedding?
The best wedding I've ever attended.
Really?
Best wedding I've ever attended. You had Johnny Gill was there.
Right.
Tevin Campbell's son, Common the rapper, was there. Snoop Dogg came. He rapped. I feel like I'm missing a few, but it was crazy.
That's a good wedding.
Yeah, Draymond Green came. Bradley Beal was there. All of his Portland Trailblazer teammates were there. That was something. I've never experienced that.
I saw that he gave all of his Bucks teammates Tissot because he's got a deal with them, and that struck me as something that was worth several hundreds of thousands of dollars that he didn't have to pay himself because he's able to just get all of his teammates in a photo with great watches.
Yeah, he got it like that. I mean, he's always been, I think him, LeBron, there's some other guys, Steph, they're known for like, giving their teammates outlandish gifts. I wouldn't call that outlandish, but they're known for doing things like that behind the scenes to kind of try to build some team chemistry and build some closeness.
Chris, throughout your career, you've done an exceptional job covering LeBron James specifically. And over the weekend, I thought there was a fairly surprising result with them battling back into that series, especially when you consider how Game 2 went. What do you make of LeBron's career right now as it stands? Because not really on a title threat yet again. It's been a weird, disjointed experience with the Los Angeles Lakers, and now you got AD calling out Darvin Ham publicly.
Ooh, okay. So I will say this about LeBron. When I took the job to cover LeBron, this was 2014, Cleveland Plain Deal. This is after we left Miami, went back to Cleveland. So that was my first. I wanted to become a national writer, and so I felt like covering a major beat, because I covered the Blazers before that. I feel like covering a major beat would be my next step to becoming a national writer. So when I took that Cleveland job when LeBron came back, I took it with the expectation that I would be covering LeBron's downfall. I thought he was going downhill from there, So I'm like, okay, this will be.
Welcome to my nightmare with Tom Brady, saying he was in decline when he was 37.
Yeah.
You thought LeBron
37.
You thought LeBron was done at 10 years earlier than he was done. And
his career's winding down.
That's crazy.
Is it? Are you sure? Are you sure?
That's crazy because that first year covering 2014-15 season, he suffered an injury midway, and he missed like 15 or so games. And at that time, that was the most games he's ever missed in a season in his career. So I'm like, okay, well, this is something I can chronicle right here. Maybe I have a book and,
The last days.
The last days of LeBron.
It would still be on your
final
computer.
days.
Yeah, what a miscalculation by our basketball information insider. A real expert on the league. A totally reasonable thing to think that someone would just age like a human being ages.
Hey, that was my beat status at that point. I didn't reach this level at there. But yeah, that was 10 years ago. He since got a championship, out of it. Went to the Lakers out of it and got a championship with the Lakers. So 2 championships since then. But it was a cool experience. One story I'll say about LeBron real quick. So I went in covering that team with the intentions of like, okay, I'm gonna try to be semi-hard gonna try to be a semi-hard reporter. If I'm gonna make my mark, I gotta take that angle. So it was the first year. Remember, you guys, Kevin,
like ask tough questions.
Yeah, ask tough questions and write tough articles. And he was being real tough on Kevin Love at that time. It just wasn't fitting. Kevin Love was the third wheel, and the Chris Bosh kind of role. And I remember Bron tweeted out something. I don't know if you guys remember. He was like, fit in or fit out. It was like a very cryptic tweet. And so everybody believed he was talking about Kevin Love. So then I went and wrote a story about, how I feel like LeBron is not handling his leadership responsibilities the right way. It did good numbers. It did good. Next day, locker room. LeBron finishes his media address. I'm waiting for him to say something to me. And we didn't have a relationship really back then. He didn't say anything to me. So the media gets excused out the locker room. Last minute, LeBron, come on. Chris, come here. I'm like, oh, shoot. All right. So I go over there, and he was like, listen, I don't have a problem with what you wrote. He said, if that's your assessment, if that's your analysis, fine. See, the only problem I had with you is that you didn't come to me and ask me, why am I handling this matter in that way? And I can tell you why I'm doing it this way, because I see things that you don't see. I'm around these guys like you. So that's the only thing and so from that point on, I was like, you're right. From that point on, like even when I'm breaking stories that may be deemed negative to the player, GM, coach, whatever, I will always call that player, coach, GM, whatever, give them a heads up, let them know what's coming. And sometimes they may say, hey, it's not that way, give me a different perspective. I may change course. Most times I don't, but at least they know. When it's coming from me, they're not going to find out on Twitter first.
You're one of the few reporters that has a good relationship with Kevin Durant. That franchise is bleeped on how it is that they're built over the next couple of years. And Booker was yelling at the T-Wolves bench, we play team ball, we share the ball. And then as soon as the Suns are eliminated, it's reported that Kevin Durant was unhappy with his role in that offense. What is true about Kevin Durant in Phoenix? What is not true about Kevin Durant in terms of public perception?
Well, I talked to him, the last time I talked to him probably a month ago, and he told me how he's enjoying the process of trying to get acclimated to playing alongside Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. He enjoys it. One thing about KD, he likes new challenges, and he considers himself a basketball aficionado, and so with that, he embraces new paths. And this is no different. This is something he wants to conquer. He wants to, bring the Suns a championship and do it with those two guys. Now, with that being said, have there been times this season where he's been maybe a little unsettled in his role and how he's being used? Yes, because he's being used differently. His points, his field goal attempts are down. He's still efficient, still one of the most efficient players we have in this league. So, yeah, there's been some frustration at times, but, Bradley Beal shares the same frustration. I know he had 9 points in the closeout game, the Timberwolves closeout game, shot badly. There's a clip of him. As soon as he fouls out, Vogel extends his hand for a high five, and then Beal kind of shoves his hand out the way. Not a good look. As far as Vogel, what I will say is this, is that I know Frank Vogel personally. I know he wanted a point guard on that roster. And the front office believed that bringing a point guard over would take the ball out of the hands of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant. And so, I think they didn't see eye to eye in that regard. So that's the end
of that front office. That owner's not going to sit around and tolerate very much.
I think something's going to happen. I don't know whether it's the front office or it's the coach. Something's going to happen.
But nothing can happen with the players. They're locked in.
Never. Right. Especially, Bradley Beal still has that no trade clause. They $50 million apiece for those three around there. So nothing can happen to those guys. But they're a top heavy team. So they have to find some balance going into next season.
They're
bleeped. They want to be
bleeped.
Yeah.
No draft picks.
No draft
the
picks,
rest of the decade.
Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards is now in the division, and OKC is the youngest team in the league. And it's done. Like, they made all of those moves. They're not going to be able to fix that. The old people are out in the NBA. It's the young people's time.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even with the Phoenix, Lakers, they're going to have a similar – look like they may have a similar situation where they may be contemplating a change at the head coaching job. And look, whether it's valid or not, I don't know. But what I will say is, who else is out there? Who else is out there that's going to take on Phoenix, take them to the next level? Who's out there for the Lakers?
Not a bad idea. Chris, last week Dan was talking about a list that was sent to him. It's the top 13 centers
Chris,
in the
good
NBA
seeing
that
you.
are better
Thank
than
you for being
Van.
on with us.
Did you send the list?
Chris,
No,
we appreciate seeing you again.
It was Stan Van Gundy.
Thank you. It was not Stan Van Gundy. Thank you, Chris. Good
That's
seeing
my
you.
guy. Thanks for having me on.
It was really fun, as much as I deplore the draft, both for its moral restrictions on talented people who should be able to work places other than Green Bay if they want to, and because we don't know anything about everything that we're watching on Thursdays to make an assessment about whether a team is actually better or not. But I will walk that back some, Stugotz, because I do believe that is a bit of dated analysis. I do believe that football teams are better at assigning and measuring value all over the field than they ever have been. The information game has gotten a lot better. When you're in a competitive, salary-capped sport, you have to be better at winning in the margins, smarter than other people about how you do things. And so they are better at drafting and replenishing their teams, I believe, than they ever have been. I do believe a lot of people watching are going to have trouble knowing who's better or not. But 700,000 people in Detroit, a record number of people in Detroit, and you in nearby Troy.
Well, nearby, I mean.
You guys covered the hell out of that draft. You did it very well. It was great pride to see everything it is that you guys were doing to make the draft a little bit more fun.
It was so much fun sitting back at the DraftKings Sports and Social in Troy, Michigan, watching Billy and Tony go to work. That was really fun. That was really enjoyable. It was. Billy was great.
Yes, he was. He was standing. He was wearing a suit. He was doing walk and talks. He was commanding the room. There was a picture of you and a baby. There was a baby that came to see you at a bar. You shouldn't put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show.
Not me.
Should you?
Are you asking me?
Should you bring a baby to a bar?
Look at the way this baby is looking at Stugotz. Can we zoom in on the baby's face? Because this baby is like, what alien is my dad standing next to?
He sees that guy is near his father's pocket and that his father's not watching his back pocket. And you got to watch that right hand. You got to be careful about what it is.
That right hand has his wallet.
That's right. What you can steal from daddy there.
The baby's head is like 3 times bigger than Stugotz's head. I don't know.
It is strange.
Perspective.
It is really strange that the
Most
baby.
of us love babies, so.
Yeah, exactly right.
Dan, I was flattered because I walked in there. I drove about 40 minutes to get to Troy, Michigan, and I was very nervous.
You didn't drive, you were chauffeured.
Well, someone drove me. You're right. And I was very nervous about the amount of people that would show up to see us. But then I got there, and the place was packed, and they were all there to see us and the draft, of course.
Right.
But they wanted to say hello. They wanted autographs. They watched the draft with us. It was very moving, I got to tell you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jessica, do you feel any remorse about
babies have big heads?
Attacking that baby?
No,
I mean that's a very substantive head.
It's all perspective.
Yes.
Stugotz is a very small guy, and this baby is very confused about who this man is and why he smells
Let's
like
not do
cigarettes.
this to the baby.
Baby's got a beautiful face.
Yes, a
and
beautiful head.
The Giants, by the way, day 1, B+.
Wow.
We also found out why Dan wasn't part of our coverage because he was in New York at the draft, as you can see here with this
Detroit.
photo.
Celebrating it with my soul, with my spirit, because I like to be there so much. The Giants, incidentally, you mentioned they took that Penn State tight end, Billy, because you cannot have a tight end in Darren Waller who has been talking so publicly about wanting to retire during the season. Once a football player is feeling like he wants to retire,
It's coming soon.
you got it. Like that is
Weird time for him, huh? Retirement, divorce. Yeah. What's he
It's-
going to be doing?
He hasn't yet retired, but it's a hard sport to play if your heart's not in it. Like if you're thinking about quitting, that quitting is going to come sooner.
Speaking of Penn State, I saw a headline in People, of all places, that it said, Penn State football coach drove 57 miles to be with both of his players as they got drafted into the NFL. And I thought about this for 2 seconds. And I was like, 57 miles is closer than Stugotz's drive to work every morning. Why are we giving him credit for this? In the Midwest, 57 miles is like a ride to your grandma's house on Sunday for dinner.
It's a breeze.
Not far.
Yes.
You close your eyes and you're there.
We should have spent those 57 miles chasing after James Franklin's chauffeured car, yelling at him for not winning more with 2 first-round picks. That's what we should have been doing.
He's going to become one of the all-time greats now that they've expanded the playoff, though. He's right there in that sweet spot.
Yep.
An 8th best team in the nation gets in. All right.
Sign me up.
Can I ask a question that I don't mean to be? I don't mean this to come off the way that it's going to come off.
It always does.
Talking about, I know. We're talking about James Franklin and how now he's going to be like one of the all-time greats because of the expanded playoff. So now he'll get like a playoff banner for just being in the top 12 or whatever. I went to Disney on Ice this past weekend at the Watsco Center, and I saw a lot of NIT banners hanging. Why?
That's a commonplace for basketball programs.
It's a loser mentality. NIT.
Not for good ones.
I mean, NIT banners. I was watching and I was like, come on.
Let's
fresh on make the scene. Some room for the, real tournament banners.
Fresh on the scene, blue blood. But did you see the size of the Final Four banner?
I was at a weird angle. I didn't. I think it was behind actually the curtain of the.
Yeah. Hard to miss.
Yeah.
The NIT used to be the premier men's basketball tournament. So really, if you're just paying homage to history.
Before Miami had a program, I think.
So you're alleging that that's the 69th best program in the country.
Well, if you win, you have to win the tournament to be the 69th best.
That's right.
Nice.
I want to show some video here of what I thought was the big football story of the weekend, which is David Tepper, the totally crazy owner of the Carolina Panthers.
Tepper!
He walked into a local restaurant, Stugotz, and here's the B-roll, and there was a sign outside, evidently, that read, "Let's allow the coach and the general manager to make the pick this year." And Tepper comes in and steals the host's hat, the host's baseball cap. And I don't know. We don't have audio of this. I hope that this is amusing and funny, but I don't think that he's being amusing and funny. I think
hand on the chin is rarely amusing and funny.
Yeah. I mean, taking the hat off is rarely amusing and funny.
That's very disrespectful, by the way.
His hands on like the podium of the greeter there. I don't like that. Oh. Handshake.
We'll shake at the
end. I'm glad that ended nicely,
belly tap.
In all fairness to him, it did end with a handshake.
It is a bully move though to come in and put your bully elbow on his bully pulpit and take off the host's hat for some reason.
So is throwing a drink at somebody.
He did that too.
That's generally when they told you 15 minutes and it's been 35. Yeah. The elbow goes on the table then.
Mm-hmm.
Hand on chin.
Like, what do you do in that situation? That happened to me a few months ago. I was like at a bachelorette party and we had a reservation and it was already too late. The reservation was for like 9:30. And I'm like doing the math. I'm like, by the time we sit down and get food, it's going to be like 10:15. So we need to sit down right now.
As somebody who's been scarred by my dad huffing and puffing anytime we wait for any seat at a restaurant, I just let it go. I don't.
Because I was in the spot where I awkwardly had to speak for like 12 people.
It's the worst.
And I was like, hey, it's been a half hour and you haven't seated us. It's 10 o'clock. Like, do you know when the table's going to be ready? And they're like, no, we're running behind. And I'm like, okay.
You puffed your chest out and you felt pretty good about what you were doing there for a second and accomplished nothing and then scampered back.
And then I was like, you guys, I argued with them for 5 minutes and they said the table's still not ready.
You did your best, though.
And we ate at 11 o'clock that night.
Where does the great feeling in a restaurant rank of having the waiter compliment your order? Where do you rank that in terms of
5.
Great feeling?
It brings me back to like what's good. That's just one of those things in life. When you order something and they say good choice, oh, that's a nice little fist bump.
The guys, they say that to everyone. They're just working the tip.
That's not true.
Yeah, no, they say, that's what I would have had. If I was a waiter, that's what I'd say that's what I would have had.
You got to gauge whether they do it to everyone at the table because Billy's right. If they do it to everyone at the table,
you think all waiters are being disingenuous? You don't think any of them are genuinely like, wow, I'm connecting with you. That was a great order.
I just love when they recommend something and then you're like, I don't really like that. It's like, it's not that good anyways. Like they're always trying to just go with what.
That. I don't like that move. Never tell me something's not good.
They go with the flow. They're going for
just
tips.
saying,
Billy's right. I mean, I think they care about your order
Read
or whether
the
or not
table.
you nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Is the waiter lying to you when he compliments your choice of order?
Hey, Le Batard, you've been replaced. I'm going to watch it for this young lady because, she knocks me out.
Dan, you're now legally required to give me your salary. Hey, Dan, it's me, Lucy. I'm here in Detroit. Stugotz is also here. I haven't seen him one single time, though, so I don't necessarily know if I believe that. Allegedly, he's staying in the same hotel as me. I don't know. I'm going to talk to the fans. I'm going to check the vibes, because this is the perfect intersection in the world for me. You got sicko NFL fans and your sicko college football fan. That would be me, Lucy. You forget my name a lot, so... Being a Lions fan, what have the last few years been like with Dan Campbell?
It's been amazing.
If he asked for a kidney, would you give it to him?
Yes, if he's going to give us a Super Bowl ring, I would give him anything.
Well, I've been told that we're not all truly Lions fans here. You're a fan of...
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you see the way he said that with shame. What is the best part of being a Cowboys fan?
Yeah, lately it ain't nothing. We ain't won it so goddamn long. It pissed me the f*** off. The best thing about being a Cowboys fan is, I would say, Michael Irvin. He get high and he talk about prostitutes and cocaine.
Who's your favorite person on the show?
Lucy, of course. I have not seen Stugotz. Are you sure he's in Detroit?
I haven't seen him either.
He goes to a lot of things. I haven't seen him yet, though.
By the way, Le Batard, I live in Tampa. It's only a short ride up to 75, but bring Poppy with you. We're going to go out for a good Cuban sandwich.
We need a third wide receiver. Xavier Worthy would fit that bill.
Very happy with our current quarterback situation. I'm hoping that now we pick a top-end receiver.
Definitely do not go for Penix.
Who do you want to see the Lions draft today?
Offensive lineman.
This is a team that needs help in the secondary.
I would like them to draft anything in the defensive backfield.
I would really like Kool-Aid because I think we need another corner.
But our priority should be a defensive backfield because that's the only reason we weren't in the Super Bowl last year.
Cooper DeJean.
I want Rome Odunze. I'm a big fan of him.
Everyone wants a corner, and they don't want Cooper. And I don't know why they don't want Cooper DeJean.
Look, we need to draft a new owner, president, and GM, goddammit, because those motherfuckers they hit the snooze button.
All right, who do you think is the most overrated player in this draft?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams.
I think he is a Johnny Manziel 2.0.
I don't care. I want him to suffer for the next decade plus. I think J.J. McCarthy.
It's the right answer. We're in Michigan. No one wants to say that JJ is bad.
Suffer and suffer and suffer.
As you can see, I have a phenomenal view. I can see so much, and it's definitely not freezing out. And the Bears just drafted Caleb Williams. How you feeling after that pick?
I'm pumped. They did the right thing.
Bo Nix has sold Tim Tebow. Drafted to the Broncos, really great in college, prolific college career, super into God. Bo Nix is Tim Tebow.
Initial reaction, I'm depressed. But we could bounce back, We need a wide receiver.
The Falcons just drafted Michael Penix Jr. on purpose. You didn't need him. Everyone's in shock. I don't know what's going on.
Let's go, Giants. Come on. Come on, Ravens. Yeah.
Everybody just come and yell your favorite team. Well, that was the 2024 NFL Draft, and you may see from the stage behind me that it might not necessarily be over, but that's not true. I stayed till the very end, and I'm so happy that Cooper DeJean got drafted to the team that he got drafted to. I think it's a great fit. I think that him and that team are going to do great, and I got to say, as much as I love this job and love you guys, I love my fingers and toes more. So I will be choosing them. I'm going to go to where there's heat and insulation. Thank you.
I was disappointed that Cooper DeJean didn't go in the first round so that all of America could be hugely confused by the white cornerback in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like Michael Irvin caught a stray.
Yeah. Unnecessary, man.
I was punter.
Playmaker.
Thank you, Billy. I was punter. Torrey Taylor went 122nd to overall. He's a great punter, Stugotz, and Iowa produces only tight ends and great punters. That's all that they produce. Did you see what Sean Payton, with a sly smile on his face? This is how Stugotz would handle it.
Well, it's always how Payton handles it. I mean,
well, do you see? You know what I'm talking about here?
I don't. No.
Then why did you say it's always
Because
how Peyton
because
handles
Sean
it?
Payton is a guy, when he does things, it's always a sly smile. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't care what it is he did.
Okay.
I'm just telling you he had a sly smile.
Well, I'll tell you what he did.
Sean
and
Payton.
This is how you would do it, and this would be the sly smile. The Vikings trade up to get J.J. McCarthy, and Sean Payton comes into his press conference and is like, yeah, I spent all that time making everyone think I was going to try and trade up. I tricked the Vikings is basically what he's saying. And
Provided a smokescreen
to trade up and get J.J. McCarthy because Sean Payton was lurking, and everyone knows Sean Payton doesn't have a quarterback. He's got a really dreadful quarterback room. And he was hiding and taking a bit of credit for the idea that the Vikings took someone higher than they wanted to.
Isn't that a reason to root for J.J. McCarthy?
No.
What do you mean? I want Peyton, who baited the Vikings into taking J.J. McCarthy, to be wrong on this.
I thought one of the interesting things about the draft, Stugotz, one of the few for me, is that we are now so obsessed with the finances in this sport, and you have to have a quarterback on a cheap contract in order to be able to fill out your roster in a way that can give you a competitive advantage over teams that don't have a great quarterback at a cheap roster on a cheap salary. I thought a bunch of quarterbacks who shouldn't have gone that high went high, and J.J. McCarthy's the top of the list in a previous year. There's no way that you take the risk and the salary hit of having to pay someone like that. But now it's less of a risk to take a flyer on someone. And while I understand all of the criticism on Cousins and Penix in Atlanta, you're not a Cousins away, Atlanta. Like, Cousins is going to go and do there what he did in Minnesota, which isn't going to be enough in Atlanta. And while I understand that you don't want to not get him somebody who helps you right away, Penix does not help Cousins right away. And given the way that you're paying Cousins, I understand why it is that so many people would question that decision. But I want a quarterback cheap, not a quarterback expensive.
Well, I guess,
yeah, but they have a quarterback cheap and one that's expensive. So.
The decision to question isn't so much so the Penix selection at that point. Then the way that you're describing it,
it's Cousins.
It's the decision to give Cousins over $100 million, because when you hold the two up side by side, they don't really make sense together.
Falcons day one grade C.
Wow.
According to
NFL.com.
I don't think that deserved a double wow. Can you
C+ overall, because day 3 they got a B.
Wow.
But it's a C today. It could be an A+ later on, you know, if Penix turns out to be one of those quarterbacks. I mean, it could be.
But how do you find out?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's the
He's gotta play.
It's the doing of both that's the head scratcher. You can do one or you can do the other, but doing one after you did the other, I think, left people very confused about what their strategy was.
Well, the economics of it do not make sense because you have Cousins 4 years, $100 million, and if you want to get value from Penix inside that rookie contract, you have to do it inside the first 5 years. So how are they going to play this? I have no idea.
The good thing about it is so many people play in that safe sport, and there's no way Cousins will get hurt. No chance. No
or
chance.
Michael Penix, someone without an injury history. The other thing is that he was in college for a while. He's an older quarterback, so it's not like Lamar Jackson where you're drafting him into the NFL and he's really young, and by the time he gets to that second contract, he's still really young. Penix is a little bit older.
I'd like to talk about some of the things going on locally here because Craig Mish, who does a very good job covering the Marlins,
Mishy,
is basically taunting Billy by saying this is the worst Marlins team there's ever been.
Things aren't off to a great start in the Peter Bendix era, I would say. But it's early. It's still early. No need to
plenty
panic.
Of time.
Yeah. It's 162, you know what I mean?
So here is, well, it's over. And
on track for 30 wins?
They have put themselves in quite the hole, I will say that.
It's over. It's not a long, it is a long
What's
season.
over? Everything is over?
Everything is over.
Oh.
Yes, everything is over. In fact, the conversation around the Marlins, Craig Mish is posting worst March, April I've ever seen in Marlins history. Truly abysmal baseball. Mistakes all over the place. Basic plays not executed. I've seen every season. Rock bottom, 6-23. And Barry Jackson is now saying, why is baseball in this town? What are we doing? Why are we wasting everybody's time?
That was such. Barry Jackson tweeted, "I know there's intrinsic value in having a major league team, but if the new taxpayer-funded stadium could not and will not ever result in anything more than a paltry payroll under any owner, is there a point? More an existential question." And I saw that come across my timeline and was like, Marlins must have lost again.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Barry? I have an example for you. Because the Panthers were pretty bad for a long time. And you look at them now, it can happen, okay? It doesn't look good right now, but the baseball team is here. It's not going anywhere. And they'll figure it out eventually, maybe 10 years from now.
Wow. What about the Marlins ownership or front office makes you think that they are capable and or willing to turn it around? Genuinely asking.
The Rays guy seems good.
They're my fourth favorite team.
Does he? So did Kim Ng. And
yep.
Not here anymore. This was a playoff team last year. You would think that means hockey sticks, right? I mean, everything's pointing up.
Their two best pitchers are.
Well, their entire rotation has been absolutely decimated. Like this past weekend, Jesus Luzardo also went down with it. It's almost laughable if you didn't want to cry at how bad the pitching situation has been for them this season, and how everyone has gotten hurt, and seemingly the solution that they came up with was, let's move the closer into the starting rotation. And he was dreadful and also injured.
It's a bit dire, though, because you felt like you nailed the manager pick, and now the manager's not going to be the long-term answer there. You had faith in the previous front office because they showed you proof was in the pudding, and now you're giving yourself yet to another rebuilding process. Crowds are bad. It's just dire.
Well, that's the thing that, so it's bad now, right? And we're headed towards a situation where at the deadline they're going to be sellers, right? And this is going to sound meaner than I intended to, but who do you want from this team?
San Diego,
who
San Diego wants Arise and Luzardo.
Well, we'll see what they get for them, I guess.
That's a start.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But this is the start of it feels like they tore down a franchise that was one to get excited over. And so I think that the frustration would be, just another reset. How many of these can we endure?
There just wasn't really any improvement from last year to this year. And you knew that you were losing, your ace.
And they were already like a bubble team last year.
Yeah. It's just weird. The last two playoff appearances, you would think, would mean momentum and something to build on, and almost it was like an end destination for teams that were building something. At least that was what they sold. With Jeter, the playoffs weren't just a destination. We were trying to build something sustainable by building up the farm system, and almost immediately back down to earth, another pseudo rebuild, get back to the playoffs. That's the destination, tear down, rebuild.
It's not back to earth. It's back to the bottom of the earth.
Yeah.
It's horrific. It's what you cannot have when you are trying to build on the momentum of having a playoff team, and the Marlins never have momentum. They have so much trouble building and sustaining momentum because they've done so much damage to generations of baseball fans in South Florida.
The frustrating part about this team by record is the worst team in baseball, but they're not. They just make such stupid mistakes.
Defense has been.
They're not base
and the
running
bullpen
mistakes.
Is awful.
They just have all kinds of dumb errors that just put them in terrible spots that are unnecessary errors. They're not good enough to play as dumb as they've been playing on certain days.
You miss Mattingly, or
no?
Okay.
They haven't had sustained success in that building. I do.
This
think
isn't Skip's fault, by the way.
No.
I just want this
can't be.
This is not Skip's fault.
After 2003, you could argue that the Marlins had their best run of seasons because while they didn't make the playoffs, they were going for it. They were in the conversation. They had meaningful games late in the summer and in September. And the question that everyone wondered aloud was, well, if this kind of effort would be put forth in a new building, baseball can really work in this market. They move into that new building with 2 playoff appearances, but nothing really sustained after that. You don't actually have a true sample as whether or not this sport can actually work in this market.
Chris Cody did say something, though, that is worth revisiting because
that's a first.
Everything the Panthers have done, the culmination of which is now the single most championship-worthy hockey team we've ever had in this town. They're up 3-1 over their haunting nemesis, Tampa. And what I've noticed in watching those playoff games is that Tampa has a lot fewer players who are willing to take a puck to the face than they used to have. All of those players that they used to have who would just slide in front of shots and just clog up
Yeah.
the toilet of playoff hockey in front of the net where you couldn't get any beauty, long shots off because everything is hitting a Tampa Bay Lightning player. Weren't there a couple of games yesterday where players just kept leaving the ice because they were being hit in the face with the puck?
There were about 15 real-life minutes where between two games you had 4 players get hit in the head with a hockey puck. One player bleeding from the ear, leaves for a period, comes back to that game after receiving stitches. Another really sad one in Colorado where a Jets player goes straight to the hospital. You know, we always talk about how playoff hockey, it feels different. And you could say the same thing about playoff NBA, but where it comes to the NHL it's a quantifiable difference. Totals go down a full goal. Block shots in terms of player props and hits, these things skyrocket. You see as many hits in the first period as you see in full games during the regular season. So it's a different style of game. It hurts to sacrifice the body.
My God,
these things are traveling at 160 miles per hour. There's not much protection for you, but Tampa Bay was one of those teams, and the Panthers fell victim to it, where Panthers tried to get all the possession in their zone that they could, and they could never get the puck to Vasilevsky to save because there were just guys throwing their bodies around. Now, Tampa's got a couple of different things. Some of those players that were taking those shots just got to a salary structure that they couldn't cheat their way around anymore. So really important role players have found other ways. Now, to their credit, they've done a great job in replacing those guys. They made good decisions in paying Cirelli. They made good decisions in playing Paul. But you look at their defense, and without Sergachev, it was a dire situation there. The cap is hard, unless you're Vegas.
You have to end this tonight, though, right? I mean, you have
I don't
to.
think so.
No. You don't give that team any sort of momentum. All of a sudden, it's Game 7 at home. You're tied 1-1, and Stamkos and Kucherov are out there. But I'm saying if you lose tonight, all of a sudden the pressure's on. You lose at Tampa, and then we're staring at a Game 7 back here. I don't want it. End it tonight.
Snowball starts rolling. Can't control it.
Yeah, don't give that team confidence, Mike. I'm telling you.
Okay, no, the heart of the champion. They're gonna be hard to kill. Chris and I went to the Game 4 on Saturday, and it was actually a pretty good way to leave a building. If the events are you lose Game 4, you can't have a better situation than you being up 3-1 in the series. They can't really muster it up. They had difficulty looking us in our eyes.
Yeah.
I think it's time to break out the old Mortal Kombat sound.
Yes.
For the Tampa Bay Lightning. Just be done with this already. I hate Stugotz. I really dislike this, that again, the playoff games, Celtics, Heat, and Panthers, Lightning, they're competing against each other.
It was the third time in this postseason here in the first round. And you used to say that it wasn't, they just don't care about South Florida as a market. No, there's brewing Celtics conflicts. There have been in that market. This is really unfortunate. There's a recent thing where the league's just decided we don't care about those market conflicts. This is going when we want them. If you're a South Florida sports fan, this is the third time in short series that you've had to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to devote most attention to and your dollar to.
Plus, you have Marlins Nationals.
Yeah, avoiding the sweep. Big game for the Fish tonight. Got to avoid that sweep.
Do you think we see Bobrovsky again today? I think if he wasn't pulled in Game 4, then he's going to go out there. But in looking back on that Game 4 performance, Sergei Bobrovsky, who was great this entire series, he lost you that game. He was really bad. Let in a couple soft ones. I was shocked that he wasn't pulled there. What has made Bob's season so good, and what they kind of figured out with Bob, was managing his minutes, and no matter what, giving Solars, who's a great backup goalie, by the way, led the league in goals against average, giving him an occasional start. I'm also of the mind during the playoffs that you don't pull a hot goalie until he gives you reason to. Well, in Game 4, in that first period, Bob gave you reason to, and you probably win that game if you make the decision to pull Bob. Winnipeg's pulled Hellebuck.
They were down 3-0, 15 minutes in?
That honestly is the most interesting part to me, is our mentality down 3-0. This team has been so good at coming back. We were just like, if we score the first goal in this second period, we're still in this. Usually 3-0 in hockey feels like a million point. It was just, this team has been so good at coming back that we were not that down when we were down 3-0. And then the second period, that's second intermission. We were alive.
It felt good. Dan, you should have felt the air in that barn.
Nobody was looking at us.
When Sam Reinhart hit the crossbar that would have made it 4-4, you could hear a pin drop in that barn.
I've never been heckled as little in a like another city's arena. I probably got heckled twice the entire game.
You two hung out together throughout the game?
Yeah. We sat right next to each other. We sat right in front of Luongo. Oh, he was getting a handshake or a high five.
Wow.
Bill Zito just sits there. Whether we score, whether we give up a goal, he just sits
But
there.
if you're sitting there next to Luongo, you can't go down 3-0. It takes the air. Like you wanted to be hugging Luongo.
Yeah,
down.
well, I wanted to finish off the comeback just because it would have been, in my mind, full embrace with Bill Zito and Roberto Luongo. Like we did this together, but we didn't have that moment.
But what Chris is saying is if you go to the game, it'd be an odd thing to do, and you're only watching Bill Zito, you would have no idea if the Panthers are up or down. I mean,
stoic.
His hand doesn't shake.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a question. I think 5 Reasons Sports was asking this. Where do we put already in the pantheon of great coaches in South Florida sports history, Paul Maurice? Like, where do we place
We get very excited anytime we have a remember there was a Herald sports page cover of Jimmy Johnson, Pat Riley, and Don McClain.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it Doug?
Doug.
Yeah, Doug McClain.
Yeah. Unless he
and
loses
Jim
the
Leland,
series.
like coaching central.
Right. Unless he loses the series and then, he gets fired.
Yeah, Paul Maurice is a really good coach, but he's going to need to win a title. He's going to need to win a title. By the way, Andrew Brunette, oh, thank God that guy's not our coach anymore.
Mike, can we talk about the day we had watching hockey yesterday and gambling on hockey? Because we were having a day, and then Mike broke one of the cardinal rules of sports gambling.
You don't talk about the next game.
Wow. You don't talk about the next game during the current game.
Yeah.
We got off to a good start. We had the Lanch. I told you to pound the Lanch. We pounded the Lanch.
Told you to pound McKinnon. We were pounding McCarr and McKinnon. We were just pounding Lanch stuff left and right.
We're pounding the Preds. We were having a day, and the Preds are up 3-1. Mike told me must-win game. They have to have it. Vancouver, their third goalie this series, I believe.
Third goalie.
Yeah. And
We were on Forsberg. We were on Josie.
What a
we
collapse.
Were cruising.
No, we're up 3-1. And
People are chugging at a catfish.
So this is what I'm saying, Chris. Mike starts telling me who he likes in the next game. Thank you. While that game is going on. And I'm like, we lost. We're going to lose here.
Sure enough, up with 2 minutes and 48 seconds left in the game, and Vancouver with a pulled goalie situation, up 3-1. The Preds hit the post on an empty net, and then Vancouver somehow improbably ties the game. I don't know how Nashville's lost both of these games, because in Game 3 they outshot Vancouver 31-12. Vancouver's the first team to win a playoff game with 12 shots there. The Preds and Andrew Brunette just find ways to lose. I think 15 seconds into overtime, Vancouver just ends up killing the Preds. That is a bad beat.
When you say it hits the post on an empty netter, people are probably thinking it was a full ice shot. No. They were like right in front of the net.
Little soft backhand.
I am texting with Mike back and forth the entire day. But when that happens, and I gave him Ranger picks that came in. I told him to take the Rangers, who's going to score points and all this. But the last text I got from Mike, and I didn't get another text, was Christ almighty.
Once you hit the post there, up 3-1 with a couple minutes left, you can see the rest of it coming. When it happens, it is your worst, most negative thoughts come to life and mushrooming. But before we get to the famous video of former Panthers coach Andrew Brunette having a bad conversation with police officers while getting a DUI in a golf cart, I want to play first the Nashville a Nashville fan, Stugotz, drinking a beer out of a fish. A fish I'm going to go ahead and assume is dead, but you can't be sure. So here's the B-roll of that. Let's see what we've got.
All right, only in Nashville, Allie Walker.
Oh my God.
Come on. Unpleasant, fishy beer. What's wrong with these hockey fans? What's the matter with them?
It's the best time of year, man.
You can't have a fish-flavored beer. Come on. You can't drink beer out of a fish's mouth.
Did you watch Taylor Lewan's daughter chugging? She chugged water after her dad slammed down a beer. They got a crazy atmosphere in Nashville. Those fans did not deserve what's happened to them over the last 2 games.
Nashville used to have the greatest draft crowd there's ever been for an NFL draft before Detroit swamped them. It just took 1 year of good Detroit football to bring 700,000 people out to the draft.
Would you rather drink beer out of a catfish or your own shoe?
Shoe. Yeah.
Me too.
Really?
Over dead fish?
Yeah.
That I don't know how it's been refrigerated?
Foot?
What about Greg Cody's
Foot?
shoe?
Catfish.
Foot?
Ooh.
Hello. I'm forced to do videos now. I am on my way to Tampa for the next 4.5 hours.
Good energy.
It's going to be a fun one, so I'm looking forward to this. You're welcome, bros.
All right, guys. Heading out for Game 4, leaving Casa Dwork, heading up to Tampa to see if the Panthers can pull off this sweep. We'll be meeting with Belly up at Amalie Arena and see what we can cook up for this.
All right, we're outside of Amalie. All right, we are outside of Amalie Arena. We are going to ask some of these fans some hockey trivia questions to see if they actually know the sport, Dave.
See if they know their stuff. We got some good stuff. We'll see if they're true fans.
Yes, because we barely know our stuff, so maybe we'll learn something. Can you guys name an original 6 NHL team?
Oh, Boston. Toronto.
Montreal.
Don't help her.
Oh, Montreal.
Oh, wow. There you go. All right. It's an individual contest.
Joseph, do you know what year the Lightning won their first Stanley Cup?
I'm not sure. Sometime in the 2000s.
Yeah, 2004.
Nice little range there.
Not bad at all. Who was in goal for the first win in Lightning history?
It was not Poopa. It was before Poopa.
It was not Poopa. It was Wendell Young.
Oh, man, I wouldn't have got that in a million years.
Panthers fans, down for some quick Panthers trivia before going inside? It's for the Dan Le Batard.
Do you guys know the lady goaltender that played for the Tampa Bay Lightning in a preseason game in the 90s?
I don't remember.
You don't know?
I know she did.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
Shelby is not her name, no. Manon Rayom, that's her name. What year did the Florida Panthers reach the Stanley Cup final the first time?
1996.
It's pretty simple. And who was the goaltender in that series for Florida?
Dude, it's in the tip of my tongue.
It's a long name to have it on the tip of your tongue.
I know.
His nickname is the same as a insect that flies.
Oh, Beezer, yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, Beezer, Van Beesbrook.
There you go. Beezer McKillicuddy, yeah.
Do you know who scored the first goal in Tampa Bay Lightning history?
We're the worst. Ruslan Fedatico.
Who was the very first Florida Panthers draft pick?
I'll guess Van Beesbrook.
No, it's a good guess. And who was the first Florida Panthers captain?
That one I don't know.
How old are you?
35.
And you don't know that? You should know these things.
5 or no? I was 10 years old when that happened.
Okay, fine.
What year did the Lightning win their first Stanley Cup?
2003.
2004.
Oh, season.
Okay, 03-04. Okay, we'll give half credit. Former Lightning goalie was nicknamed the Boulin Wall.
Hobby Boolin.
Hobby Boulin. Okay, very good.
If you guys are wrong, then I can't be that wrong.
Well, I was half right. Well, so are you. You're half right. We're both half right. That makes one. That makes one whole.
Who scored the first goal in Lightning history?
Oh, boy. Contos?
Yes.
Hey,
Chris
I wanted to
Contos.
say Dingman. I'm like, nah, can't be Dingman.
Well, who was John Van Beesbrook's backup goaltender?
Oh, I don't know. Guys, you said you were asking me simple questions.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean,
What's like
for the '96
last 5 years?
for the '96 Stanley Cup run.
I was born in '96.
Oh, we got a problem then.
Act of kindness. And you did nothing.
Hey, I love baseball, and I somewhat like kids.
All right, we're back. We just did trivia with some fans who made us feel kind of dumb. That they seem to know more than we did. But
How new am I, everybody?
Brian Strudland. Big names here. Now we're going to head inside to the arena, see Game 4. Maybe see a sweep. I don't know. What do you think, Jason?
Chris Wells.
100%. Who?
Chris Wells.
We don't talk about that trade. We don't talk about the trade.
Yeah, that's going to be rough, man. Snuff that out. Oh, that's not interference.
Well, that sucked.
Yeah, that sucked really bad. The puck was around. It was around them. You know what they didn't do was they didn't play that let's get down to business song.
Oh, you're right.
Actually,
a fan up there with some brass?
Ooh.
Oh, my God.
Well, that sucks. I said that it sucked in the first period. It sucked in the third period. The second period didn't suck, and there goes the light.
Do you guys have a better nickname for a goalie ever than the Bulin Wall?
It's
For
pretty
Hobby
good.
Bulin. I don't know that you're going to be able to do better.
What was
Dominator?
the insect answer? What was that one, Chris?
Beesbrook, bee. It's a terrible clue.
It's a terrible
like a
clue.
truly
Yes.
terrible clue, like an uncommonly bad clue.
Not a good look for Panthers fans there.
What was a good look, though, was a turnout. There were a lot of Panthers fans. And I guess there were a lot of tickets available on Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code Dan. I'm sure a lot of people in that barn use code Dan and got $20 off their first purchase. Terms apply. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We pulled up the Game Time app to see the mistake that we made on the primary market because a lot of Tampa Bay Lightning fans were trying to get rid of their tickets via Game Time. And we opened up the app, and we could turn to our left and turn to our right and see the entire peripheral vision of the seat that we were looking at. The get-in price was all up front, all those fees up front, no surprises. Thank you so much, Game Time. Promo code DAN.
Martin Brodeur's nickname is Satan's Wallpaper. Yeah. That's an incredible nickname.
Pretty good. Yeah.
You're not going to believe what I'm about to break right here.
What?
The mummified CBS football pregame show. Again, Angela Lansbury demo. We talk a lot about how
demo?
CBS is going for 70-year-olds. They're trying to capture 70-year-olds. That show is about to change, the NFL pregame show on CBS. Out are Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason. In is Matt Ryan.
Matty Ice. A younger Boomer Esiason and Chris Sims. How about
That's
that?
how they get younger.
Phil Simms.
Or Phil Sims. Yeah.
Yes,
That's a fun.
Phil Simms, that's right. So go ahead and put your money in there.
How about Rolly the goalie?
Not as good as the Bulin Wall. Rolling the goalie.
But Bill Cowher's safe, right? That's all I care.
Bill Cowher is still there.
I knew that
Yes.
velvet suit was going to keep him.
But J.J. Watt is also a part of that pregame show.
Hobby-
So those two are out, and they replaced him with Matt Ryan and J.J. Watt.
For the Coyotes' last game, they had a beat writer that had been covering them basically the entirety of the time that they've been in Arizona, and he revealed that Hobby Bulin during the intermissions would just rip cigs, just totally be a chimney during the intermissions.
Cujo is pretty good.
Dan, can I do a little fan engagement here before we move on to the next topic? Clone Cartel tweets in, "Hey Chris, can I get the Titans day 2 grade?" Sure. Day 2, Titans got a B+.
Huh.
But they get day 3.
A B+.
And overall?
A-.
Wow, they must have had a good day 1
Yeah,
grade.
A
Tighten
day
up.
1.
Those Tesla coils that they have at the Tampa Bay Arena, frightening. It's actual lightning that they create in that building.
Seems
It
reckless.
really does not seem safe.
Speaking of reckless, it is being reported now, Stugotz, that Tyreek Hill has 10 children, 4 of them in the last year. 10 children, 4 of them in the last year. And in my history covering sports in this market, I would say that there are very few players I have ever covered, Stugotz, who have an amount of reported recklessness around them that makes me wonder, if we know this many things about how reckless your life is, how many things do we not know about how reckless your life is? It does not stand to reason that all the stuff that would give off recklessness, immaturity, or a life out of control, all of it ends up on one player with the Dolphins more than any other. And he came here super restricted by Kansas City. He has not been restricted here. He speaks freely as a star of the team. And the list of items that he has that is weird, Stugotz, like a woman breaking her leg in his backyard playing football, house catching on fire, divorce papers that are filed that he denies that he's getting divorced.
Fight with a moving company.
Yeah, assault allegations. It kind of feels not as serious because there wasn't a reported firearm, but it kind of feels like when John Morant was going through it a little bit.
Oh, but there's more here.
In terms of volume, you can judge like the actual crime in question. I use crime.
But Mike, Dan is saying we're just finding out the stuff that's been reported.
That's the way that I could talk about
the
it.
reason there's more.
It's my same takeaway, and I don't know how to talk about this because I am judging it as someone that doesn't live his life exactly that way. That it does feel to me reckless, and right up to the line of being really erratic and bizarre just from what's reported. And I don't know how the Miami Dolphins actually have handled this. Or if they need to, do they have a responsibility to?
I asked you, this is tough to handle when you're taking on a reckless home life. But I asked you when I came in here one day, I think Tyreek Hill was playing on one of these gamer channels, and I was wondering if it was AI or real when he is saying, before all of these reports, that if he weren't a football player, he'd like to be a porn star, right? And I'm juxtaposing that against the way that Max and Hard Knocks sort of presented him to the public, which is not this. Like, it's the opposite. The way that he was presented on Hard Knocks to the public was the very opposite of reckless. It's in front of a computer in his living room, about to get married with his wife, going over their finances.
Budgeting, yes.
And when I see the number of things here, Stugotz, the number of things, if I tell you a team had all of these things, not a player, a team, you'd be like, that's a lot of stuff. To have one player come down here in search of stardom, Stugotz, and in search of the temptations that Miami offers, because it's different than Kansas City. It's like a lot different what you might be able to get into if you're seeking stardom and then taking advantage of all the things that come with stardom in Miami.
It's amazing that he found stardom regardless. With all this stuff swirling around him, he has still found stardom only in Miami, Dan.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, just 96 calories, available for delivery. Dan, he's the gift that keeps on giving. 0 for his last 2 super teams, 1 playoff series win in his last 2 seasons, 6-9 in his last 15 playoff games, including his masterclass performance this past week, where he got owned by the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, Kevin Durant is back.
A lot of failed big threes in his resume.
Yeah.
He's got one in OKC, one in Brooklyn, and one in Phoenix now. He was on one that worked pretty well. And
Not because of him, though.
And
they were good before he got there.
But he just decided to willingly leave that one.
Mm-hmm.
Just a very curious career upon reflection.
That's a record number of failed big threes. Chris Whittingham got it right when he said if you played a bunch of different computer simulations of how Kevin Durant could have made choices in his career, he's made the worst ones on what he could have done with being one of the best scorers ever.
You guys are coming around. Took you long enough.
Nobody's taking championships away from him. You're the only one doing that.
StugottsBook.com. Check it out. Big announcement tomorrow, by the way. Big announcement.
We made it on Thursday.
Well, got another one tomorrow, Dano.
I think it's the same one.
At one point over the weekend, I had 7 teams winning the draft at the same time. Draft week, Dano. The only thing better than playoff hockey is playoff overtime hockey. An extra session. You know why the Knicks beat the Sixers, Dan? They wanted it more.
Oh, really?
Yes. Craig Kimbrell, 2 blown saves this weekend. Always something with that guy. Death, taxes, and the Eagles and Ravens winning the NFL draft. Every year.
They're pretty good at it.
Bradley Beal, blah, blah, blah. Devin Booker, blah, blah, blah. Kevin Durant, blah, blah, blah. LeBron James, good luck staving off elimination. Dan.
I feel like that's insincere from you, that you're not actually wishing.
I wish him
good
luck.
I don't think you are wishing.
Whenever someone faces elimination, Dan, I wish them luck. I do. I know it's an odd thing for me to do, but you're staving off something.
Yes. Do you stave off anything other than elimination?
I don't know.
Is there anything? Do you uncork anything other than a wild pitch and a wine bottle?
Dan, you know what the B in Jalen Brunson stands for?
Balls.
Big, gigantic balls. You got it. Jordan Travis, drafted in the 4th round by the New York Jets. Poor kid. Just can't catch a break. Cody Zeller is a Pelican. Kawhi Leonard, the rare career where 2 rings and 2 finals MVPs doesn't seem like enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Left some on the table.
You think?
I do.
They've won both the games he hasn't played. They've lost both the games he has played. He played 65 games this year.
Right.
He played a bunch of games. They just weren't the last 3 weeks of the season.
So they're 2-0 in the playoffs without him and 0-2 with him?
That's correct.
Are the Clippers better without him?
So far, they have been this season, this postseason. And he's been bad because he's hurt. He's got a lot of swelling in his knee. And it's weird because they can't win the championship without him, but they can't win it with him either because he's got to be healthy. They need him to be healthy.
Knicks fans taking over the Wells Fargo Center. I never want to hear how good a sports town Philadelphia is ever again. You know what the P in Philadelphia stands for, Dano? Pathetic. Embiid's right. It's the only thing he's right about. That cannot happen. Philly fans, you can't let that happen.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah. After the Knicks take this series, they should take the Rocky statue with them. Imagine that thing in front of the Madison Square Garden. Imagine it. The Mecca.
You know they moved it?
The Garden?
No, they moved it to Philadelphia. They moved the Rocky statue.
Why? Where?
It's no longer at the top of the steps. Normally, people would run up the top of the steps and do the Rocky thing with Rocky up there. They moved it off to the side. You don't actually have to run up the steps. By the way, steps, not at all hard to run up.
Is it a liability issue? Did they give
I'm
an
not sure.
explanation as to why they moved that statue?
I'm not sure. No good explanation that I heard when I was there.
Replacing it with Kelsey? Have you run those stairs?
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, pretty easy. Yeah. Surprising. Disappointing. I wanted to feel it in my chest.
Good acting from Sly, making it seem like those were hard to
Well,
run.
I mean, when you consider he probably took 17 takes. I guess it's a little harder.
Cavs Magic. We're waiting.
I don't know. I actually watched some of that game, and the Cavs were so bad in that third quarter. They scored 10 points in the third quarter. Their bench had like 4 points the entire game. They were so bad.
You could tell me anything is happening in the Cavs Magic series, and I would believe you. Not watching.
If a tree falls in the forest, but it falls while it's on NBA TV.
Nobody loves a first quarter more than Tom Thibodeau. Thibs. He gets right after you. He does. He wastes no time. First quarter is as important as the fourth quarter to Thibs. Perhaps more important. He tries to kill you and kill you early. I mean, he does. That guy.
Billy, that was a Jessica yawn in the middle. A disrespectful Jessica
No,
yawn.
I was
tired.
In the middle of
draft
the
week.
I'm a little under
tired?
the weather.
You're still tired from
Got the
Thursday?
sniffles. It's that time of season.
It is. I have him too. Candace Parker, retiring after 16 seasons as a 3-time WNBA champion and 2-time NCAA champion. In my personal record book, Candace Parker is the real CP3. StugotzBook.com. Here come the Phillies. Who would have thought having that leg injury would end up being the second worst thing on the resume of Jordan Travis? Where was Travis projected to go before the draft? Like, had he not had that leg injury, was he a first or second round pick?
It's hard to believe those preseason mock drafts, or a couple preseason mock draft first rounders that are UDFAs now.
The only mock draft you can believe is Greg Cody's.
Yes.
If you want to know why Greg Cody has a horribly swollen shut right eye and a giant bruise on his forehead, Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody, wherever it is you get your podcast.
Fine. Colts GM Chris Ballard cursing about anonymous sources and then saying, I apologize for the language. I don't, but I do. Chris Ballard, the Stugotz is strong in you. Down 3-0 in the series to the Hurricanes. You know what the Islanders did on Saturday by winning, Dano?
Staved off elimination.
They lived to see another day. Good guess, though.
I thought you were going to do the thread throughout.
I know.
Yeah. That's why you're unpredictable.
Yes. Looking back at the show last week, it's embarrassing. We did a parade of gas bags for the Heat not getting swept. Those things used to mean something. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Jermaine Trotter Jr. is an Eagle. Joey Porter Jr. is a Steeler.
So Jeremiah Trotter.
Sorry, like fathers, like sons.
Why did you make your?
I have no
let me see
idea.
Your sheet of paper. Let me see if you read. Let me just. See
I
if
wrote
this
it,
paper-
Jermaine. I did. I wrote it that way. Here, I mean, you want to double check?
No,
but
that's
I
okay.
know
If
what I
you're
did.
but
I
you
already know
wrote
what I
it
did,
as
yeah.
Jermaine instead of Jeremiah.
I already know what I did. Yeah.
Is that another fine? You owe money from before on your fine that you haven't paid.
Jordan Travis being a top 10 quarterback in the NFL
Jessica,
7 years from now
This is your money, Jessica.
for a team not named the Jets. Collision course. How much do I owe?
You owe. You've been fined
That's
twice
50.
during the show today. You've been fined, so it's at least $2.
Well, here's $5. That should cover the
I
rest.
see you got a $2 bill there.
I do. Yeah.
Jessica would
holding
like
on
that
to that.
$2
Yeah,
bill.
no, I'm not giving that up. Crazy.
I saw that there's a $1 bill that there was like a printing error that's worth $150,000. If you look, it's like a 2013 series because they printed them all with the exact same serial number. So if you have $1 bills from 2013, look it up, people. You may be rich.
Yeah. David Tepper knocking off a restaurant manager's hat because the sign outside made fun of him. One might say he had a Tepper tantrum.
That he didn't knock off the hat. He just took the hat off the guy.
Barry Jackson questioning if a baseball team is actually valuable to have in a city. I don't know about you, Dan, but I love Spicy Barry. I do.
So do I.
Mm-hmm.
I got a stat of the day I'm not going to be able to do here about taxpayer-funded stadiums I think you guys are going to like.
Sixer fans, take it easy on your team. You're going up against a generational talent with Joel Embiid. I like that.
You liked your own joke?
Can't believe I'm saying this, but one of the safest bets in sports right now is betting against the Astros. Uncommon for a Dusty Baker-led team to be this bad.
I still don't know who the manager of the Astros is.
I dare you to name the coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I dare anyone. Dan, don't know if you saw Greg Cody's eye. Well, you did because we showed it earlier. But guessing there's not going to be a back in my day this week. Maintenance week. The Steelers bolstered their offensive line with their first 2 picks. You know why? Because they are the Steelers.
Scott Brooks.
Is it? Kirk Cousins saying he's stunned and upset that the Falcons would select a quarterback in the first round of the draft. You're getting paid $180 million. Do me a favor. Shut up. You agree?
I don't generally tell people to shut up.
10 of 24 from the field. 1 of 5 from 3. If someone else tells 1 of 9 from 3, excuse me. If someone else tells me that Luka Doncic is the best Maverick of all time, I'm going to punch them in the face. Top 5 Mavericks of all time.
Oh, wow.
Number 5, Maverick Carter.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Number 4, Deshaun Stevenson. Number 3, Dirk. Number 2, J.J. Barea. Number 1, Pete Mitchell.
Maverick from Top Gun.
Yeah. You got a better one?
No.
Thank you.
Did you see Luka says he's upset that he's letting down Kyrie?
What?
Kyrie's been great for them.
Oh, no.
Really regret
Enough
all
both
of my
them.
Kyrie. Well, not all of them.
Learning from Aaron Rodgers used to be a good thing. Where was it?
That was funny.
DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Oduzze, Caleb Williams. Not even the Bears can fuck this up.
You don't think so?
No.
That stat of the day I have is about the Bears.
Really?
Yeah.
Dan, I'm calling it now. Before he holds his first professional clipboard, Sam Hartman will go down as the best-looking backup quarterback of all time. The Commanders telecast should have a Hartman cam. A little box so we could just look at Sam. One would call it a Sam cam. You like that?
I thought you were going to go something heart-related because it was a kiss cam, but yes, the rhyming.
Sam cam.
Yeah, makes it better.
Heart cam?
I mean,
Death, taxes, and no timetable for Kawhi Leonard's return. Does the guy ever play? I'm tired of him.
he did play a lot this year.
Yeah, he did? How'd that work out?
They're in the playoffs as a 4
I'm
seed.
about to lose again.
Are they?
I mean, if they win, it's not because of him.
Okay, but you're sure they're going to lose?
Yes, I'm sure they're going to lose. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. Why, you think they're going to win? You don't think Luka's going to be able to pull that out without Kawhi there?
They have a
If
game
he
7.
does it, he's going to get it.
They have
I mean,
a game 7 at home, and I've thought that that's a championship-worthy team. It's not without Kawhi, but I think they're championship-worthy if he's healthy.
When's Kawhi coming back?
It's an excellent question.
Thank you. Hey, Russell Westbrook, we get it. You are not to be trifled with. Enough. It was fine when you were good. You were winning the MVP, but enough. Enough. Stash this away in the something to ponder file. If the Sixers offered Joel Embiid straight up for Jalen Brunson, do the Knicks say yes? No need to discuss now. Just stash it away for a rainy day. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs traded up to get Xavier Worthy from Texas. He has a 4.21 40 time, Dan. You know what the W in Worthy stands for?
I do not.
Won the draft. To the person who came up with What a Pro Wants commercial. Go straight to hell. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.